Hi guys, it's Wednesday, the 18th, and we are halfway done with our week of e-learning. And so I hope you guys are well. I'm going to put up a Google form to check in with you and get some feedback from you, see how you're doing. So please be sure to take a look out for that. Today we are starting with page 31. Yesterday I filmed a video, but then it was having trouble uploading, but it did finally upload. So I'm going to pop that on our Google Classroom too. So I'm not going to spend any time going back and talking about, some of the things I would have explained with scenes 2 and 3, because you can watch that video and then that kind of fills in some of the blanks. So we're on page 31 and we start with scene 4. So we're still in Act 1, obviously. And we're on a street outside Capulet's mansion. Enter Romeo, Mercutio, Benvolio with 5 or 6 maskers and torchbearers. So Romeo and his buddies, they're going to crash the Capulet party. So they're on their way to the party. Romeo says, "What shall this speech be spoke for our excuse, or shall we on without apology?" Benvolio says, "The date is out of such prolixity. We'll have no Cupid hoodwinked with a scarf, bearing a Tartar's painted bow of laugh, scaring ladies like a crow keeper. Nor, no, without book prologue, faintly spoke after the prompter for our entrance. But let them measure us by what they will. We'll measure them a measure and be gone." So what they're talking about is it used to be the custom that when you entered a party, there'd be somebody that would announce your entrance. So imagine you go over to your friend's house and their mom or dad, opens the door, and then they call down to the basement or the family room where everyone is, and they're like, "Entering is Nancy Smith of the Smiths of Tinley." And so that's what they're talking about, because if you were going to crash a party, you wouldn't want it to be announced like, "Introducing is Romeo Montague," where that's the family that you're in a huge feud with. So Benvolio says, "Oh, that's kind of out of fashion now. We'll just measure them a measure and be gone. So we'll stay a little bit, dance, and then we'll head out." Romeo says, "Give me a torch. I am not for this ambling. Being but heavy, I will bear the light." Romeo still, what a Debbie Downer. He'll hold the torch. They literally would be holding a torch to light their way as they're walking to the party. And he says that he is heavy because he has all these emotions. He feels sad, so he will bear the light. Mercutio, who we haven't met him yet, Mercutio is a relative of the prince, so he is not a Capulet or the Montague, but he's more aligned with the Montagues because he is Romeo and Benvolio's friend. But still, he is not blood related to either the Capulets or the Montagues. Now, Mercutio is different than Benvolio. Benvolio has been set up for us being keeping the peace, this really even-keeled, trustworthy person. Tybalt is fiery and impulsive, and we'll get some more of him in a little bit. And Mercutio is kind of this jokester, larger-than-life personality. He is really, really good with wordplay, and he's very smart, and he talks really fast, and, one of those friends that you're like, "I don't know what we're going to do, but it's going to be fun because so-and-so is there." "Nay, gentle Romeo, we must have you dance." "Not I, believe me. You have dancing shoes with nimble soles. I have a soul of lead." And we have a pun there. Soul, like the bottom of a shoe, and soul, inside yourself. "So stakes me to the ground, I cannot move." "You are a lover? Borrow Cupid's wings and soar with them above a common bound." "I am too sore and pierced with his shaft to soar with his light feathers, and so bound I cannot bound a pitch above dull woe. Under love's heavy burden do I sink, and to sink in it should you burden love. Too great oppression for a tender thing. Is love a tender thing? It is too rough, too rude, too boisterous, and it pricks like thorn. If love be rough with you, be rough with love. Prick love for pricking, and you beat love down. Give me a case to put my visage in. And then he puts on a mask because they're going to a masquerade ball. So like people would be dressed up. They would have like these masks on, or maybe the ones that you hold on sticks. They're like in costumes, which works out great if you're gonna crash a party that there's costumes. That worked out great. Good thinking, Shakespeare. A visor for my visor, what care I, what curious eye doth coat deformities? Here are the beetle brows shall blush for me. Come knock and enter, and no sooner in, but every man take him to his legs. Benvolio's like, we're going to get there and we're going to start dancing. A torch for me, let wantons light of heart tickle the senseless rushes with their heels. For I am proverbed with a Granchar phrase, I'll be a candle holder and look on. The game was never so fair, and I am done. So again, he's just like, I'll just hold everybody's, like not that they would have purses, but like, I'll just sit there and, if you have a coat, I'll watch it and just like be kind of not part of the party because I can't have fun. Tut, done's the mouse, the constable's own word. If thou art done, we'll draw thee from the mire, or save your reverence, love, wherein thou stickest up to the ears. Come, we burn daylight, ho. Nay, that's not so. I mean, sir, in delay. We waste our lights in vain, like lights by day. Take our good meaning for our judgment, since 5 times in that air, once in our 5 wits. Now you see on lines 43 and 44 how Romeo and Mercutio's line are broken up into halves. That means that those 2 lines come very quickly. Like Romeo speaks and Mercutio goes right into his sentence. So it's almost so fast that it's one sentence. And we mean well in going to the mask, but 'tis no wit to go. Why, may one ask? I dreamt a dream tonight, and so did I. Well, what was yours? That dreamers often lie. A pun there too, like dreamers often lie because they're, in their bed lying down. And then dreamers often lie because in your dreams you can think whatever you want. I could have a dream where I'm Oprah riding a unicorn. And of course, that's not that's not reality yet. And so Mercutio is all about the puns. He's really good with words. In bed asleep while they do dream things true. Now, Mercutio's about to start talking about Queen Mab. And Queen Mab was the queen of fairies. And it would be like this story, how we have stories when we're little about like, I don't know, the boogeyman or tooth fairy. Sorry if you still believe. And so that's what he's talking about. Queen Mab is the queen of the fairies, and she brings dreams or nightmares to dreamers. Oh, then I see Queen Mab hath been with you. She is the fairies' midwife, and she comes in shape no bigger than an agate stone, on the forefinger of an alderman, drawn with a team of little atomy, over men's noses as they lie asleep. Her chariot is an empty hazelnut made by the Jonor squirrel or old grub. Time out of minds the fairies' coachmakers, her wagon spokes made of long spinner's legs, the cover of the wings of grasshoppers, her traces of the small spider web, her collars of the moonshine's watery beams, her whip of cricket's bone, the lash of film, her wagoner a small gray-coated gnat, not half so big as a round little worm, pricked from the lazy finger of a maid. So Queen Mab is tiny. She like rides in a little chariot made out of like a hazelnut. She's super tiny. And in this state, she gallops night by night through lovers' brains, and then they dream of love. Over courtiers' knees, they dream on curtsies straight. Over lawyers' fingers, who straight dream on fees. Over ladies' lips, who straight on kisses dream. What oft the angry Mab with blisters plagues, because their breaths with sweetmeats tainted are. Sometimes she gallops over a courtier's nose, then dreams he of smelling out a suit. And sometimes comes she with a tit-pig's tail, tickling a parson's nose as he lies asleep. Then he dreams of another benefice. Sometimes she driveth over a soldier's neck, and then dreams he of cutting foreign throats, of breaches, ambuscados, Spanish blades, of heats 5 fathom deep. And then a nun drums in his ear, at which he starts and wakes, and being thus frightened swears a prayer or two and sleeps again. Mercutio starts out as like very kind of like silly, funny. Oh, she's visiting people, bringing them dreams. And then when this actor playing Mercutio does this scene, you feel in the audience that he's, has he been drinking? What's going on with him? He's kind of having like almost, he's talking and he's kind of working himself up. And then Romeo kind of has to snap him out of it, because then he starts talking about the darker side of Queen Mab, the nightmares, visiting soldiers and giving them dreams of battle. So like they wake up and they have nightmares. And he almost like Mercutio would be going into this, he's talking and he's in his own world and kind of scaring himself a little bit. And Romeo has to bring him, like interrupt him from that, being like, it's okay. Which we get here, Shakespeare is probably doing this because we have him really exploring the lighter side and the darker side of things. Like something could be a really sweet little queen of the fairies that brings dreams, but then also there's this really darker side where she brings nightmares and plays tricks and all of this. Like those two things can exist in the same story. Okay. And thus being frighted swears a prayer or two and sleeps again. This is that very Mab that plats the manes of horses in the night and bakes the elf locks and fowls sluttish hairs, which once tangled much misfortune bodes. This is the hag, when maids lie on their backs, that presses them and lures them first to bear, making them women of good carriage. This is she. Peace, peace, Mercutio, peace. Thou talkest of nothing true. I talk of dreams, which are the children of an idle brain, begot of nothing but vain fantasy, which is as thin of substance as the air, and more inconstant than the wind, who woos even now the frozen bosom of the north, and being angered puffs away from thence, turning his side to the dew-dropping south. So he's like, yes, you're right. Dreams are the children of an idle brain, because you're not like really aware of what you're dreaming, and it's just what comes into your brain. This wind you talk of blows us from ourselves. Supper is done, and we shall come too late. I fear too early. This is Romeo. For my mind misgives some consequence yet hanging in the stars shall bitterly begin his fearful date with this night's revels, and expire the term of a despised life closed in my breast by some vile forfeit of untimely death. So Romeo has this moment where he's like, I had this dream last night. I had this premonition of death. It's like this foreshadowing for sure, that something tonight, so whatever happens tonight, something's going to occur that's going to lead to deaths. And it's this moment, we just had that Queen Mab moment that was really dark and odd. And now Romeo's like, I have a bad feeling. I had this dream and I just feel like something's going to get started tonight that's going to end really bad. And then they're like, but he hath the steerage of my course, direct my sail. Oh, lusty gentleman, Benvolio says, strike and drum. And then so it'd be like this moment where Romeo's like, I think death is going to start tonight. Something's happening. I have a bad feeling. And then he's like, oh, well, let's go to the party. So, all right. We definitely have foreshadowing that not good things are going to happen. Okay, they march about the stage and stand to one side. So they would be on stage and they would literally just kind of like join into the party that would also be on stage, because we talked about how they didn't really use set pieces and things like that. So the audience would be like, oh, okay, they're at the party now. Okay, I'm going to pause this for a moment before I start scene 5.